We could have recorded and sent it to Deb and asked for feedback and where everybody learn more, but I forgot to record. Oh well. Yeah. Oh well. Here we are. That's my mistake. And then we know it happened. Mistakes are mandatory.
What are you noticing, Liz?
I'm noticing for a moment I was pretty hard on myself, and that was also just more a thought, less than in the past. It could be more like a visceral. So more just the body is calming my mind down. Like it's okay. Mistakes. I'm actually okay. Interesting. Good question. All right. Alyssa, you did submit your practice for this month. Why don't you, how about we next go to the review of your practice? And could you go through the reflection form first before video?
You. Oh, no, I'm not on mute. Okay. All right. I've had 2 sessions with her since. I'm just trying to remember which one this one was.
Or do you have any notes or questions top of your mind?
He ended up leading the session into the most recent session was like, so we have the finding the root under the problem or the root under the answer, whatever, with the list of memories. We have to go to the next memory. And it was like she felt this like pressing urge to get to memories that are more connected to what she's being triggered. Like she thinks she's being triggered by certain memories, you know, in the present. And so I felt like she had like an agenda that she wanted to approach. So I ended up just doing the float back with her. Did I talk to you about this last time? No. Okay. Because she
You're
wasn't,
awesome.
you know, I was like going over this with her, the memories we identified, and nothing was like, she wasn't really wanting to go with any of those for the next memory. And I was like, okay, there was a lot of things that was causing her disturbance recently. She has this health anxiety. So that's what she, you know, identified as the recent experience. So I don't know, I use this sometimes, the float back technique. And the negative cognition was, I'm going to die. And that led us to the next memory we went to work on, which was her dad getting a DUI. Like they got into an accident with her dad driving under the influence.
How old was the client?
I feel like she was like 6th grade.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on that? Is that young enough?
No, I'm just information. So what did you do next?
So we went with that memory.
Mm-hmm.
she seemed more satisfied. Yeah, sixth grade. She seemed satisfied with that, like that was going to help her more in the present.
Okay.
I think she really wanted to be working on, because I mean she's had both parents die of cancer. She's my age, like 28 or something.
Mhm.
Um, both parents have died of cancer. You know, her dad was an alcoholic. Like she has a lot of trauma, and she's like at this point where she's like, I need relief.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
I'm constantly being triggered. She has severe health anxiety because of her parents both having cancer. And so she's just at this point where she's like, I really need relief. So I think she wanted a more specific memory that she attributed to her current problems, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that one is the one we went with. Um, and I did use some, what are they called? Interweaves, like inner child type stuff. And that was very emotional for her, but I think in a good way. It, I think it helped like facilitate the processing. Like I asked her, um, I swear I would have been more prepared if I knew that we had a meeting today. I was actually getting ready. I was supposed to meet with her today, which is funny. Um, anyways, I changed that, but oh, and you know, like her dad was like gaslighting her during this, like, oh no, I'm not drunk, like after the
Mm.
accident. So she felt, you know, this disgust, betrayal. Um, but she definitely gets to a point like where she hits her window of tolerance and she's like, I'm done. She gets distracted, can't focus anymore on the like on the memory and the reprocessing. That's happened like the last few seconds. So I've learned with her to fix that aspect, like with
You
that.
can't hear very well when you are turning. Yeah.
She definitely gets to a point where she like reach, I think her sound
Something happened. Your voice was pretty clear. And is it same with you guys? Yeah. When you started saying she heard she hit her window of tolerance after that, it got
okay, how about now?
good.
Okay. It's like she starts to get, when she starts to exceed that window of tolerance, it's like she gets really distracted, can't focus on the memory. And so we kind of just like appreciated that, like, okay, that's your brain maybe trying to protect you a little bit. But we won't push you more than necessary. Um, I think like we did a couple more sets, but then stopped because we just kind of looked at that as warning signs. And I'm like, I have another client kind of like that where she starts yawning like uncontrollably. And I've noticed if we push too much further past that, then she'll like go into a panic attack.
Mm.
Um, so I feel like with her, I'm kind of learning where her window of tolerance is. Um, but am I making any sense or am I rambling? I guess I think my question was it okay that we diverted from that route under the answer and then just went with the float back?
I can answer that. I think these are great questions. This is when you actually practice and start to like really get into the nitty gritty. Now, so rule of thumb, I tell people in this training, we go with the earliest with a disturbance. And the client feels there is a disturbance.
Right.
And the client seems like you usually find so, and going back to the basic training we gave you, one slide of flow back, direct questioning, and another. It's just these are the basic techniques Francine mentioned in her book that how we get targets.
Mhm.
The way Deb designed finding the root under the answer is kind of incorporating all these techniques. There's direct questioning. What about an earlier time? There's float back. You notice the disturbance, and negative cognition help you to kind of follow the activation. So that tool is very powerful, incorporating all these tools, these tools, yeah. And the list we get from that is just a working, dynamic working list. You can add to it, you can cross off. Sounds like her system was adding more after you did one memory processing, a couple of sessions. She came back
Mhm.
with more activation from the present, and it's very appropriate to use float back, direct questioning, to add to the list.
And like I have another client where we went through the memories, we've reprocessed those memories all under finding the root under the answer. He has no disturbance related to that. His main, like I would say his primary issue still is like smoking marijuana that he wants to fix. But in his trigger, he reports his stress. Okay, so let's look at where the stress is coming from. So we use the float back for stress. He gave me a recent example of that. And, we're trying to like go back to earlier times and we're not getting anything with a disturbance. So it's like, do you just use the substance use as the target? Like,
That's the one
that
you emailed me about, right? Is that the same
actually,
time you emailed me, or it's about, or
different client. I have two that are trying to stop marijuana use, and I feel very stuck with them. And I was gonna fill out a client consultation form, but once again, I didn't know the meeting was today. So I have two where it's like we've gone through the memories, and like I've tried to be super thorough with them about making sure we're not missing something and giving them so much time, in identifying potential memories that could be leading to this substance use. But I'm getting to the point where I'm like, I think the substance use might need to be the target.
my first inkling is, what is the marijuana use helping with right now? Could that be an answer?
Yeah, it is.
What is it helping with?
It's helping with the stress.
Okay. And the stress, how would you describe the stress?
To me, it seems very for both of these, they're teenage boys. There's not any like active trauma going on in their lives. Um, I would say it's pretty trivial family dynamics in the home. There's not like, a mom and dad in both the home. Like it's not, your traditional, there's divorces in both of them. So there is that aspect. I'm not saying they have no stress, but there's nothing like really like red flag type stuff going on in their lives. But both of them are continuously verbalizing to me their desire to stop smoking marijuana. And they're like, they go for a little bit and then they start using again.
What does they, let's stick with one client at a time.
Okay.
Part of this, we really see the answer, and each individual's adaptation is unique. They can have the same answer, but
Yeah.
whatever the answer is helping with, or what circumstance prompt them to develop the answer, could be very different.
Yes.
So
Okay.
like one client, what the what does the marijuana help them with? Him with not feeling the stress. And the stress comes from,
Maybe like an argument with mom about not putting dishes away or
okay. So,
or schoolwork, you know?
okay. Something they are forced or pressured to do, but they don't want to do or they don't feel like doing.
Yeah, or maybe they are with a friend and their friend has it.
Okay. I'm wondering, so here is, I heard about almost like comparing trauma, if there's big red flags or what qualifies as a trauma or not. That's really the EMDR model. We see all pathology comes from unprocessed memories. And it's very individualized, however they perceive it as difficult or challenging makes their life just, even if it's not, it's unpleasant, and they just, yeah, that's their probably is our unprocessed trauma making this moment, this argument hard to handle for them.
So, yeah, and I definitely understand, like that. But like the other memories they gave me when we floated back from that argument, they said there was no disturbance with, because yes, in my head, I am biased and like, that's a little one. Like, I'm sure there's nothing there. But I didn't say that. Like, I still, um, said, like, okay, so what, is there a disturbance associated with this one? And they said no. I guess I could go into the full assessment thing on that because I have experience where somebody will say no, and then I do that full assessment thing, phase two and, or sorry,
Three.
three, and then there is a disturbance. Um, but it's like, so do I reprocess every argument with mom because of this presenting substance use? Like, I just feel like I
They're
need to
not
be doing
convinced.
something.
You are not convinced. They are not convinced.
No, I
Some
feel like I need to be doing something else for the substance use.
sounds like they are really good at not feeling whatever unpleasant, uncomfortable.
Hmm. Yeah, there's dissociation is a answer for them.
Stop feeling uncomfortable stuff. And
Hmm.
marijuana just happens to be a handy substance that can do it so quick. But even without marijuana, they probably have been doing this
Yeah.
in some way, form.
Yeah.
See that, and can you appreciate how they had to learn to do that?
Hmm. I can. It's helpful.
Yeah. I don't know how long. Would it be okay for you to just be with this answer for a while? Appreciate how the answer came about and have
Mm.
clear categories of these emotions are wanted, can be here. These emotions has to be tossed away or stuffed back, or I just either whatever I do, distract, getting high, or play video games or whatever, stop feeling that.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. And while I do feel like I have sat with the answer for a while, I think I could probably be more mindful. And then maybe also like with this client, like I feel like I've got like I've spent a lot of time with that with them, but um maybe trying to make appreciation for that and then coming up with a memory associated with that feeling.
they may be able to remember or may not, but the appreciation is really they they have to get to a point they truly appreciate. Oh yeah, of course it was drilled in my head that I'm not supposed to cry or feel upset. I need to stop crying within 2 minutes. That's too long.
Mhm.
Whatever. It's very specific to them, their circumstances, their usually relationship with caregiver, how emotions were dealt with. And that's the root. It's always the answer was the lid or the gate that protected the true source, so the true fuel source.
Okay, thank you.
And do you have anything to add or yeah.
No, I like what you've done, and I love how you're just sitting with it. I think one of the hardest things I've learned in my own practices is sometimes we want to see the big T's. Um,
Mhm.
the physical, emotional, sexual abuse, and we think, okay, that's traumatic. But often it's the little T's, the boot camp training, the where they learn those messages of who they are, how their answer starts to develop. Those are harder to detect, and sometimes people overlook them and say, well, I was just little, or it was no big deal. But those are so powerful, especially for someone as young as these kiddos that you're dealing with,
Yeah,
because that's their identity now.
Mhm.
Um,
yeah,
and
I
kind
can
of
see that.
welcoming that part into them. I wonder if we got some little T's maybe coming up of how did they, what comes up for them before they want to use. Maybe one of these little T answers is starting to present itself. Um, that was one of the things that I had in my mind.
Yeah, and that makes me think too, like in my own therapy experience, I like it was mind blowing to me that I couldn't connect the fact that like I had to go to my room and deal with my emotions by myself or like cry myself to sleep. All like that was my entire childhood throughout all the trauma. That in itself was traumatic. And I was like, I mean, that was like the littlest thing out of all the things I dealt with, but that in itself was traumatic. So, my therapist was like, yeah. So that's what that made me think of. Was those little things really do impact the bigger picture.
Yeah, it's so ingrained in us.
Hmm.
Good question, great question. And also noticing the time. I also am aware there was a question or kind of around window of tolerance. Want to maybe quickly touch on that.
Okay.
Great observation or awareness as it's happening. This is a very fair question, curiosity. I wonder if the client is hitting window of tolerance. And I'm offer, could it also possible be what the client had to do in the memory or back then?
Mm. Yeah. How do you decipher that?
We don't need to. We just offer it as a question. We can be curious about it, and the client can let us know. Oftentimes, I see it's more often than, yeah. In my experience, more often it's what the answer just comes in to help as it was part of the memory, right? The memory is always something big or something confusing, so overwhelming, and then okay, we tried this and it helped. Maybe that this for the individual was start looking around and doing other things, and then they can forget what's here. Or maybe that person was so the other client you mentioned, the yawning, and then they get triggered. That I sense it's different. So, but for the first client, more often than not, is an answer coming in to help. But that's also a sign that they're getting to the window of tolerance, that they are their system is automatically going into the defense, right? The answer is coming out, it's confusing the past and the present. This moment I'm actually safe, I can keep going with my therapist, but it's getting so disturbing or activating that my answer doesn't quite know I'm safe in this moment. So it's how, so it's both, but by asking that question, oh, I wonder if that's what you had to do back then, that can lead us go back to the root, because it was so hard or so overwhelming. Of course, I started getting distracted, or that makes sense. Or they can say, no, I don't think so. Maybe I just had enough for today. Okay. Do you want to stop?
Hmm.
Both ways can be okay.
So that makes me think, because I have had that thought. It's this just we know this distraction is an answer, but then I hesitate to always call it out because I think my answer shows up in not wanting to see that client in pain so much or push too far. Um, so
Great awareness.
And as Liz was saying, these are why the purpose of cognitive interweaves, as she said earlier, we have to go through it. And this is why an awareness of our answer is so important, because if we want to jump in, they're going to be stuck in this cycle. But if we can witness it and allow them to experience it and have that dual awareness that this happened then and I'm here in the future, not in the middle of it, and I can go through it, then it's allowing the body to release that stored up energy.
in those moments, do you guys ever stop and do like a resource and then keep going?
If the client, yeah, that might be it. Of course, yeah, I had to do that a lot. Then they're right back into it. And you just here holding space.
You would never, when things like when a client's starting to reach window tolerance, like or exceed that, you would not stop, do resource to bring them down and then start again.
The true window, so we do so much around the answer, is the answer itself is a resource. Having awareness, this, oh, might be answer, then their window of tolerance is expanded. Being have this layer of awareness, oh, I'm processing this pain and it's so painful that answer is coming to help, that itself, that interwave already helped them to expand. But if they're truly at the window of tolerance, even this awareness expansion could not help, you will know it.
Okay.
You can't respond. They're dissociating actively. They're they're not engaging eye movement, or they're so scared that they can't really tell they are here safe.
Mm.
And there's a good video, Deb demonstrates this, called um, Nothing in your in your portal.
Nothing, is
Um,
that nothing?
yeah, it's called Nothing when nothing comes up.
Oh, I've watched that.
And and you notice that moment where she becomes very, I don't mean this in a derogatory, gets the ugly cry going, where it's just very intense and emotional and visceral. And Deb just says, okay, yeah, that was big, and just sits and taps. that tapping is a good sense of way to kind of bring them back if they're starting to exceed,
Yeah.
kind of help bring it back into that window of tolerance as well. And but at the simultaneously still processing it because you're getting the dual awareness, allowing the tapping to happen, the dual awareness to happen.
And our okayness, our grounding, just holding space and encouraging. And the encouraging comes from our voice, our presence. They can sense that this is normal. I'm going to get through this. And my therapists have witnessed or seen this. This is not the first time she is seeing this activation, and I'm going to be okay. So they are going to, that's what the co-regulation comes in.
Yeah.
All right, we are close to the time. Assignment. Wherever you are with the client, just as you would with a regular client. Always start with reevaluation, and it's a clinical judgment to whether go back to the memory you processed last time if there is a disturbance, or start with the new memory. Oftentimes it's the next chronological order, but there are exceptions, just like Alyssa's client. This one or this feels more like here, wanting to be processed, needing my attention. Can't really deal with anything else at this point. And you did a great job linking a present trigger using float back to past memory. So we deal with whatever is the earliest with the disturbance, unless it's such a big one that we need to use the restricted protocol to do a first aid with the more recent one. So then we can go back to the chronological order. Yeah. Becky, one comment from your video, phase 8, even if it's a complete memory you worked on last time, I will always ask for a SUD. If you have to give a number on the scale of 0 to 10, 0 is no disturbance, 10 is the highest, how disturbing does it feel now? Even if the last session was complete, it's possible after a while or a new channel comes up, or there's just a little bit of grief or whatever they need to work through after some reflection or whatever. Some client, they are so used to think about a memory, it's 9, 10 over the board, and to them now it's 3, 4. They would say, oh, not disturbing at all. But I always ask for a SUD, as long as it's not a 0. Even if it's a 0 question mark ish, would it be okay? We just go with that for a couple of sets and make sure. A quick psycho ed is that the earlier thing will feed into the later thing. If we truly clean up or fix our foundation, then the basement, then the first floor, and all that will go much smoothly. So, yeah. Any questions? Okay. And we need 3 things. Oh, Becky.
Oh, no, I don't have anything to say.
3 things. The video link, please set it to be unlisted, the transcript, and a reflection form. The reflection form, I want to see you actually feel it out, the treatment sequence plan. You have that information now. You can delete or cross off or whatever. You can give me that sheet. We have the worksheet of all the present trigger, negative conduct, yeah, negative cognition, earlier memories. You can give me that sheet if you hide the identifying information, or you just list it on that reflection form. This is the way I can see you really get it when you did defining the problem under the roots. Okay. So 3 things: video link, transcript, and reflection form. If you have a case, highly recommend you fill out the reflection form for the case. And our next date is, someone help me. I closed my schedule.
Oh, mine just logged out.
December, I think we are back to the
Like,
the first week of the months, right? 4th?
I have December 4th.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Okay. Sounds good. I'll see you guys in December.
Hey y'all.
Okay,
Thanks for
great.
being
Thank you.
vulnerable and
Thanks.
showing up
Yeah.
today.
Reach out for support or help or question clarification. Yeah. Oh, Dwayne, you won't be with us next month, is that right?
Well, I think I should be. I don't have anything planned. It's on my schedule.
Okay, you don't have
So
to. You've already.
I think this was 4 because oh maybe let me calculate. We could talk about it later. They don't need to stay for this. Let me see. 1, 2, 3. Oh, this is the 5th one. So well, I guess I don't have to be. If it's okay, I wouldn't mind staying
You're welcome to.
as long as so we'll talk. So we'll make plans.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Thank
Take
you
care.
all.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.